All right, moving right along with my new stream of videos, stream of consciousness videos that I'm going to be making here on my channel. I want to get used to the idea of just firing up the screen recorder or my cameras or whatever and just start making a video, post it, and I'm done. So anyone new to the channel, I talk a lot. I don't edit, I don't script. So if you're looking for a 5-minute summary, go somewhere like The Verge or whatever, they'll tell you. This is for people who don't mind listening to someone rambling along, like sort of podcast style. All right, moving right along again. I got a couple of comments on yesterday's video here. NO, or no, not quite sure. I was just asking Poco F1 or OnePlus 6. Both phones I don't know anything about, so I can't answer that. However, why not give my opinion on the things that I can judge these devices on? And so it's a good test for this process. So first thing I do, go along to, I've got no connection to GSM Arena. I just like using some of their tools, so that's why I'm here. I pulled up both those phones, OnePlus 6, Xiaomi Pocophone F1. Straight off the bat, we can see the Pocophone has a bigger battery. Whether it actually lasts longer because of that, one would need to read the test. Sorry. First thing I would always do, if these are phones that one has looked at and decided, oh yeah, this is the kind of specifications I'd like to have, and it's the kind of price range I'd like to have, and I'm just trying to figure out, well, which one should I get between these two if they are the candidates? Go to a site, always look at user comments. They are not necessarily, it's not the best way to get an opinion, but what I like to do, and I do this on Steam as well, I look at the negative comments, because you can always tell when a negative comment is just a troll or someone being a fanboy or whatever. But the negative ones that aren't trolls or from people just who are fanboys of other devices trying to make this one look bad, you can spot those ones, and they usually have some good information, especially if certain things repeat themselves, like people keep saying, oh, the battery is terrible. And that's a good indication that the battery is terrible. So I always do that. I always have a look. I might just click down here, read all opinions, see if that all relates to this phone. Yes, it does. Newest first, oldest first. I would always have a look down here. I'm not going to read a whole pile of these. Someone like this who goes to a lot of trouble making a reply, it's often worth having a look at. See, after reading about the latest update, it did make the handset overheat and battery drain became terrible. I updated, restarted. Now no issues. Well, except for blah blah blah. That's for the phone. It's the best for the money. Okay, whatever. Six months of uses. Phone is best in performance. Battery life in this price, and the camera is good with Google Camera app. Listen to this guy. Don't listen to Indian. They always complain about touchscreen. Okay, whatever you say. In any case, let's carry on. The thing that I really wanted to see, go to the last page of the review. Let's do that here as well. They're both pretty looking phones, and I'm just going to go to the end because, again, these people have gone to the trouble of reviewing it. They have looked at all the phones. So if we read between the lines to try and see what they're really saying, it gives us a good indication which one might be better between just these two. See, the F1 has everything, and we mean everything. Premium screen, that's nice. Face unlock, what doesn't matter. Snapdragon, fine. Expandable storage, stereo, blah blah, all the necessary ports, and a high-end camera experience. Of course, that's what I'm interested in, is the camera. So I would be looking at this from that angle, and that includes the battery, I have to say. Uh, it's the cheapest Snapdragon 845, and I didn't check the date on this article. August 2018. That's not that long ago. That's not all that long ago. So they're saying no waterproofing. Yeah, whatever. Bad low light photos. Okay. They've obviously got movement in them. No electronic image stabilization for 4K. Okay, well, you know, it's not a flagship phone. No near-field communications. These may matter. I don't know. Class-leading battery life. Quick charge is available. That could matter. Quality video recording and audio jacks. Excellent daylight pictures with both cameras. That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. Pocophone F1. Okay, let's just quickly have a look at this one. OnePlus. How old is this? 8th of June, so that's only a month earlier. If there's one phone that can put the OnePlus 6 to shame, it would be the Xiaomi Mi M8, the Mi 8. Okay, well, why are we looking at the... Oh, that's its own. This is the... No, this is the OnePlus. This is the Poco. Why do they say the M8? Well, maybe that's another phone that should be considered. Hawaii P20, take the price out of the equation. Dun, dun, dun. Let's go look down here. New chipset, blah, blah, blah. Increased price. They seem to be relating it to the previous phone a lot. Something like that. Previous model of the same device or something like that. See, it's all about improved, increased, blah, 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 more features, but this is presumably relates to the previous version of the same phone. Doesn't seem like a very good selection of pros and cons, but it does say good battery life. These other things, you know, no micro SD, no wireless charging, no headset in the box. Proprietary charging peripherals. That might be a bit weird. They'd like to have tele and ultra wide cameras, yeah, but presumably this is not in that price range, so I don't know why they're complaining. Has water resistance but no IP rating. Does seem a bit odd. Seems like it might be expensive sounding. Okay, I couldn't get a whole lot out of that, but let me go right along here to, oh, I noticed that the Nokia 9, they've got that in, so we'll check that next week or so when they publish their review. I went over here to their you know, their camera testing tool, which is my favorite part of this website. And I brought up the P30 Pro because that's the camera I'm looking at. And it's only a 10 megapixel here in this default configuration. And I brought up the OnePlus 6, which is a 16 megapixel shooter, and the Pocophone F1, which is a 12. Okay. Straight off, let me just zoom that back again. Straight off, I can see we've got a lot of sharpening here on the OnePlus 6. See all those white lines around the black edges, little white halo around everything. That's a lot of sharpening. This camera has a little bit of it, not much, certainly not as much as this. And again, this also has some of it, but not as much as this. Straight off, I'm favoring the Pocophone over the OnePlus. I always go up to the map here and have a look at a couple of names. First thing I look at is key bus routes in central London up there, just see how legible that is. This Pocophone is got quite low sharpening, which is quite nice. It's certainly noisier. You can see quite a bit of grain around the gray areas. Contrast is low. Huawei is quite yellow, but I'm not sure what their light balance is, so who knows? Maybe it's correct. We can't tell. Here, excessive sharpening all over the place. Lots and lots of sharpening. But rather than reading the bits that you can read, obviously, like key bus routes in London, look for something that you can't quite read, something that maybe you can only read in one of these. And so right there, Regent's Park. I mean, you're not going to see this properly on YouTube, but I can just make that out because I know what that says. Here, even though it's a much higher resolution camera and therefore everything's bigger, that is less legible than that. It's harder to read that than that. Here, it's so low contrast, I couldn't read that at all. And in fact, I would say nothing else in this image can be read. In this image, something green, I can read that. To Parliament, something. I can actually read a couple of things. Up here, can't really read anything there because it's so low resolution, only 10 megapixels, that everything is much smaller. So, you know, that's where the resolution, the extra megapixels, actually does help a little bit in this case here. But let's have a look around here. Let's go to this image over here first. This one with this chart, this lens testing chart. I like to go straight to the corners. We look at the 1-to-1 numbers here. The Huawei looks very nice. Nice and clear and sharp. The Pocophone, fuzzy, just a little bit. Looks very nice though. Only a little bit lower, definitely lower contrast than the Huawei. Less sharpening than the Huawei. The low contrast, it's sort of like a flare in the image. This is why you can see along this, at least I can, along this edge here. It should be black on the left of this line and gray, white on the right. Well, we can see that this fogging comes in, which is really flare in the lens. It could be a fingerprint on the lens, but that would probably do a lot more than that. And I think it's quite consistent across the photos. This is why you always clean your lens too before you take a photo. On this one here, the OnePlus, lots of artifacts, like compression artifacts all over it, that sort of thing. But it is higher contrast than the Pocophone, and this one here, the Huawei, is the sharpest and clearly has a better lens. So that's the comparison there. Let's go up to the other corners, just check them for consistency. Come on into the corner. Can't quite see some of these, but very similar. Low contrast down here for the Pocophone, fuzzy, low contrast. This one's sharp, but it's got a lot of sharpening and a lot of noise, a lot of artifacts all over it. And here the Huawei is very smooth, quite sharp. A little bit fuzzy right in the corner there. Let's go to the next corner and just double check this. So here the Huawei fuzzes out a bit more. That's a lens issue. This camera is exactly the same as it was in the other corner. That's nice and consistent. And this one is worse also than it was in the other corner. So everything's pretty consistent though. In this corner, the OnePlus is looking quite bad. The other ones look fine, just the same issue with the higher contrast, slightly sharper here, and lower contrast, slightly less sharp on the Pocophone. Okay, anything here we can just have a look at? This is here where we can just tell how the sensor is separating these lines, and I have to say the higher resolution sensor should do a better job at this. But funnily enough, the highest resolution sensor here is actually losing control of the lines, and the Huawei is keeping better control of them. This gets a bunch of artifacting going across it. It's quite weird. And that does quite a good job. So far, between the OnePlus and the Pocophone, I'm favoring the Pocophone in terms of the camera. It's lower resolution, but it's slightly better. But they're both doing quite a nice job. And now back to this image. I want to see if there's anything else I can check here. Sometimes I like to look at that lace. It looks good across all of them. It actually looks very good across all of them. This thing here, we can see the sharpening on those background crosses, but once we look at the actual item, it's not so obvious because that's what sharpening is for. It makes things like this look quite nice. Here we can see that Huawei definitely doing a better job of just defining colors and shapes and gradients in this, finer detail in this piece of fluff, turning into a pile of mush there on the OnePlus. And somewhere in between the two is the Pocophone. No great problems there. Anything else we can look at? Most of these bits on this test image are basically the same. A little bit fuzzy there on the Pocophone, noisy on the OnePlus. Okay, I don't want to carry on with that forever, but in my judgment, I would have said that the Pocophone has the nicer camera of those two. And was that the case here? I think I liked this first one here better. So this Pocophone seems to be a little bit nicer. As to how much they cost and all that, I have no idea. No idea at all. Let's just hop over to the tools screen and see if there's any other tools, because I should maybe use this a little bit more. Compare side by side. This one here, the battery lifetime table. I think this is worth looking at. Pocophone F1, total of 94 hours for these tests. And that is, if we look on the right, I can see on my little scroll bar over here, right there, that we are near the top of the table, in the top 20% of this table here. The table starts with the Lenovo P2 at 149 hours total. Any new phones there? It's all sort of funny old phones, funny things like there's a Nokia too, and it drops very quickly actually. 140, 3 phones in the 140s, and then straight down to 120s, and already we're down to the 107, 8, and so on. So it drops off pretty quick from the highest phone. Clearly, if you're getting 100 or so hours, that's doing all right. Just judging that very quickly. So back to that camera, that phone, the Pocophone F1, 94 hours there, and the other one was called a OnePlus 6. Well, the 6T is 90 hours, a little bit less. 3T, I'm not seeing the 6. I'm assuming the 6T is much the same. There it is. Oh, okay. Here's your answer. This is your answer. Apart from having the lesser camera between those two, 76, that is a big drop. That is quite a significant drop. In fact, there's your 640. 640, the Lumia 640 there and there. And there's the 640 XL 74. So this OnePlus only has the same battery life, according to their tests, as the Lumia that you have now. And that's an old phone. That is actually an old phone. So you can see straight off that the other one, what was it called, Pocophone, clearly has the better battery life by almost 50%, or 40% or so. That is well worth it. Better camera, better battery. I don't know what the prices are, but those two things would answer it for me. All right, I'll leave that one there. Hope that helps you decide what you're going to get, and let us know how you get on if you pick either of those. Anyone else wants to comment on any phones, just let me know. Tell me what phones you want comments on. That type of comment, something I can pick up off the web, and just make a judgment of cameras and so on. Let me know. I could do that. All right, thanks for dropping by. Bye-bye.